For someone new, but if someone was to log on, what would, for the first time, what would be the top 3 articles or links that you would suggest off rip for them to get an idea of not just the website, but the teachings of Eastern tradition?
Well, that's a good question, because Beezone has so much, and it would depend on where the background and the need or the interest of that person is. So I'll just tell you what are the most popular pages that people go to. And the number one, without a doubt, is Adi Da Samraj, the teacher. His 7 stages of life. And so that's probably the most universally accessed page, and it's not just one page, it's quite a study. The 7 stages of life. Now remember, Beezone is not just North America and United States oriented.
Right.
The audiences that the people who come to the Beezone, only about 45% of the people come from the United States. And 30% come from India, 25% come from Europe, and it's scattered out through Australia, New Zealand, and Japan, Russia, all throughout the Eastern and Western world. So when I'm speaking to the audience here, I'm speaking to people in India, I'm speaking to people in London, I'm speaking to people in Melbourne or wherever.
Yeah.
So the interest is different. So I have interviews that I have with other people. I have interviews with authors and writers, and so the Beezone has also audio. So a lot of people, it's on SoundCloud, which is where I put most of my audio clips, and those are interviews, but also they're from teachers. And now most of you who are listening know that primarily one of the foundational interests that I have is Adi Da, and that because he has been such a huge influence in my life. So if you want to know the background of my own work, then you would go to the introduction page of Beezone, and then you would read about what it is that that my purpose and my goal is on Beezone, which is the introduction page. So without taking up a lot of this time, I'd say if anybody's interested further in investigating who and what I am and what my background is, go to the introduction page. And I think it's a pretty thorough introduction.
It is. It is. I agree. Now, it's interesting that you said that you have such a global impact with Beezone.com, because my next question is a global question, but because we're here in the United States, do you feel like, or do you believe that Beezone.com could be a catalyst for more unity in the United States as well on a worldwide level? But I'm thinking just because of where we are currently in our country, do you think that it could be a catalyst to create a little more understanding and a little more unity amongst all of the divisions that are happening right now?
Yeah, absolutely, because primarily my interest, because I'm a Westerner, and I have background, and so if you're interested in the Western tradition, that's on the Greeks and the Christians primarily. Those are the biggest influence, and some of Judaism and some of the social conflicts that I have on the Beezone about that, and interviews with people who are active in resolving Palestinian and Israeli issues and things of that sort. And but the East is such an important part in my understanding. And really, what the Beezone does is bridges the Eastern world with the Western world, without making one better or the other. It's just bridging those differences, and I don't mean it just in the Buddhist sense or the Hindu sense. I mean it in the cultural sense, and the social, political landscape. Although Beezone does not per se a political animal or a political
Right.
journal or a political orientation. But you can't ignore politics when you're talking about some of the interests of psychology, sociology, history, and religion.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Beezone is, and my purpose is actually to bridge these differences,
Mm-hmm.
to see the unifying principles that we've all, at least in some cases, have an intuition of, and some people have an actually direct experience of
Yeah.
the unity of everything. So
Mm-hmm.
Beezone, I believe, and hopefully will, bridge these gaps that create differences and bring more of a unifying.
Yeah, because I feel like it's more of a political and religious gap than it even is a cultural gap. I mean, I just the internet alone is one thing that I feel like worldwide we all have in common.
Right.
And I think it affects us all the same way, as a distraction, as an information resource. And, I think Beezone is one of those places where you can log on universally and get information about tradition and philosophy that is liking to the human experience, which we're all sharing right now. So I personally believe that Beezone could be a big catalyst in bringing people together.
So do I. Know when you talk, and I'm reminded of some of the politicians, whether you're from Iran or wherever, where the conflict is between the United States, let's say, and North Korea or whatever. When you hear the politicians talk, the differences are they're saying, listen, or mostly with Iran, that's probably the most popular you hear this, is that when they have the dialogue and when they're burning the American flag,
Mm-hmm.
they're saying that we don't have a problem with the American people. We like the American people. It's the government we don't like.
Yes.
And so there's the difference between unifying people and then the supposed leaders
Mm-hmm.
who are in control. There's where the conflict is. It's
Very
not
true.
at the level of what we are.
Very true.
Right.
Just to move along. So what do you, when people come to the website, and it kind of goes back to what inspired you to build the website, but after they visited the website, what do you want them to take away when they walk away from Beezone.com?
Well, I don't want.
What do you want to stick?
I want them to go back and do some more homework.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the beginning, I started to do some social networking.
Mm-hmm.
I had a blog, and I have a little Facebook presence, but I don't emphasize it. The social media in the beginning was of interest to bring people into a discussion. But I don't think the maturity of some of the people, anyway, are fit for my discussion groups, because there's too much angularity, there's too much hostility, there's too much righteousness, there's too much
Antagonizing.
you point,
Mm-hmm.
there's this finger pointing and judging and stuff. So I've removed myself. So if there's anything I want people to take away, is I've now taken Beezone to use as a library.
Mm-hmm.
So improve your intelligence, improve your study of the traditions, improve your study of understanding of different teachers, and get a broader perspective. And Beezone is a way to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But if it inspires you to go to the library or go to another website to explore further your limited understanding of whatever it is that you've put your money down on, I hope that it expands your point.